Once upon a time, on a sad Valentine, in a place known as Mine.
Welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. I'm your host, Kevin. This week we'll be discussing the 1981 horror classic, My Bloody Valentine, starring a bunch of unknown Canadian actors. No offense, Canada. For those of you joining us for the first time, each week we'll discuss a certain guilty pleasure, forgotten classic. You can go ahead and reach us on our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. Give us the thumbs up. Also go to our page on YouTube, Kevin D. That's me, and hit the subscribe button. It's totally free. You can also follow me on Twitter at KD9575. Very quickly, there's been some, discord, if you will, by the fact that it's called the B Movie Club, but I choose movies that are profoundly not B movies. Here's the thing. Originally, B movies were kind of like shown in double features. They were the second show, the B side, if you will, kind of low budget, kind of horror, sci-fi, kind of crazy stuff. With the advent of straight to video things, B movies today would be those kind of movies, straight to video movies. I'm not going to watch a bunch of straight-to-video things that no one's seen or never heard of. So by virtue of that, what I've been doing from time to time is I'll pick things that are clearly big budget, oftentimes critically acclaimed, but the story may be a little bit more fantastical or lurid or just a little off-center, if you will. And I kind of have broadened the definition of B movie to include those as well. So, that's just kind of how it goes. I basically pick whatever I want to do, whatever I feel like doing that week. So, and for the record, I don't use B movie as meant to be kind of an insult. I use it as a badge of honor, a source of pride, if you will. So there you have it. So we're the B Movie Club, but it's pretty much whatever we want to do. You're not going to get a lot of dramas here. That much I can guarantee you. You're not going to have, Howard's End, for example, a lot of Merchant Ivory type movies. Typically there'll be more fun type things, in my opinion. So there you have it. My Bloody Valentine. A little background information. 20 years ago in this small town of Valentine's Landing or Valentine's Bluff or whatever it is, it's a mining town. Okay, and 20 years ago there was a cave-in due to the negligence of the supervisors or whatever. So five miners were trapped in the cave for like days on end. When they finally were able to dig to the miners to try to rescue them, 4 of the miners had been killed. The 5th had basically lost his mind. He had survived over those few days by basically killing and eating the other miners. So there you go. His name was Harry Warden, and he just lost his mind. And when he came out, he realized the reason why the foreman or the manager of the mine had left early was that they were in a hurry to get to the local Valentine's Day dance. So a year later, when the Valentine's is going on, everyone's having a good old time, Harry Warden, now totally insane at this point, dons a full miner's regalia, including the helmet with the little light on it, and a gas mask, and goes in with a pickaxe, kills his managers, and takes their hearts, puts them in a beautifully wrapped heart-shaped box, wraps it in cellophane, and sets it on the table of the Valentine's festivities. So, needless to say, people at the table looking for candy and treats were not too pleased to find an old bloody heart-shaped thing. So, Harry Warden was arrested, thrown in the slammer, actually the insane asylum, where he'd been ever since. But there was a curse, kind of. he said, don't ever throw another Halloween party, no Halloween dance, don't celebrate Halloween. Why am I saying Halloween? Don't throw another Valentine's Day dance or party or anything like that. Don't celebrate Valentine's Day in any way, shape, or form, or I will come back and I'll get you with my pickaxe, because I'm a miner. So the town basically says, okay, we won't do that. Fast forward 20 years later, it's now the early 80s. They're like, whatever. It's now time to have a new Valentine's Day thing. But things start happening again. The opening scene of the movie, a young couple go into the mine for a little tryst, which is what people do, I guess. They're also in full regalia, mining regalia. The girl starts doing a striptease, tries to take off her male lover's mask. He won't let her do it, and he gets her. So I don't know what this they don't really explain what that scenario is. I'm assuming they met at a bar, but for some reason she didn't know what he looked like. I don't know. So anyway, the sheriff and the mayor find a heart-shaped box, and it also has a heart, a human heart in it, and it has the warning: don't throw another I keep saying Halloween. Don't throw another Valentine's Day party, or more bad things will happen. So they're like, whatever, no big deal. But one by one, people start to go down. Finally, the sheriff says, you know what, forget it, party's canceled, no Valentine's dance, no nothing. But the kids are kind of wascally like that. They're like, you know what, we won't go to the town Valentine's dance. We'll throw our own special Valentine's Day party at the mine, because that's kind of secluded. No one will see us there. So they decide to do that. Now, there's a little subplot running through this. A few years back, the mayor's son, TJ, left the small town to go to the West Coast to seek his fortune. I don't know. Something along those lines. And he left his girlfriend behind without a word. So things didn't work out back on the West Coast, so he took the midnight train back to Valentine's Bluff, I guess. Now is forced to work back in the mines because he found out the hard way that not all dreams come true, I guess, right? So he's there, he's working back at the mine, but now his girlfriend's with his former buddy Axel. So now there's some tension. She's kind of in the middle because she has a new boyfriend, but she still has that familiar feelings for old TJ. So there's all this going on as well. Meanwhile, because there's still a party going on at the mine, more killings are starting to appear. The sheriff, while this is all going on, is like, hey, Harry Warden's back on the loose. I need to call the psycho ward to find out what's going on. Calls the psycho ward. They're like, we have no record of Harry Warden ever having been here. All of our files only go back 5 years. Prior to that, it's the microfiche, which will take us days to get through. So we don't know if this is Harry Warden on the loose or something else is going on. I don't want to spoil everything for you. There's a lot of, there's a twist, there's a surprise, there's all sorts of interesting running through the mines fun going on here. It's your typical slasher flick. If you have not seen it, I recommend it. Okay? Some things I can tell you about My Bloody Valentine. Number one, this is Quentin Tarantino's all-time favorite slasher flick. So there you go. That carries some weight. It was trying to cash in on the slew of holiday-themed slasher movies. Up to this point, there had already been Black Christmas. That was a good one. There had already been Halloween. There had already been Friday the 13th. So they were trying to find, okay, they literally went through the calendar and said, what holidays haven't been used yet? Came upon my Valentine's Day. So they said, okay, we'll use that one. Only they didn't want anybody else to rip off their idea of having it be on Valentine's Day. So on all these scripts, the working title was just called The Secret. It wasn't until later that they revealed it was actually My Bloody Valentine. So there you go. Filmed in Canada, in Nova Scotia, with a all Canadian cast. When they were scouting locations, they picked this particular mine. It's a real working mine. Because it hadn't been used for a while, kind of was dilapidated and spooky looking, which they thought really kind of worked for what they were going for. However, the town was so pleased that they chose to shoot their movie there, they spent $50,000 of their own money to refurbish the whole mining area, new coat of paint, make it look snazzy. Unfortunately, the whole reason they chose it is because it looked creepy in the first place. So they actually had to, when they arrived, the production company actually had to spend $75,000 of their own money to make it look crappy again. So it's very sad state of affairs. There's a lot of hullabaloo about this movie because there's a lot of issues of censorship. Evidently, every death scene was meant to be far more bloody and gruesome, and they actually had to cut between 3 and as many as possibly 8 minutes of the film in order to get an R rating. They kept cutting it and kept getting an X rating. That's how violent this thing was. At one point, the special effects guy showed a particularly gruesome effect to the director, and the director saw it and literally threw up. He was so revolted by it. One of the actors was all kind of done up because he was supposed to, it was like his big death scene. And they broke for lunch, and he was sad to say that no one wanted to sit next to him because he was so gruesome looking. So it's very sad. They actually kept the identity of the killer secret, even from the cast. So the people who were playing the roles didn't know who the killer was either. Even the person who was the killer didn't know that they were the killer until much later. So there you go. All sorts of interesting things going on there. What else can I tell you about this movie? Another thing that was kind of interesting is the special effects department was working on something in the United States. They actually had a dummy body all set up and ready to go for one of the death scenes, and they shipped it to Canada, which caused a bit of problems when it was going through customs, and they opened up the box and there's a body sitting in there. So evidently it worked out okay. This movie actually inspired a lot of different people. There was an Irish band who took the name My Bloody Valentine. So there you go. There's all sorts of good stuff in this one, let me tell you. They were all set to shoot a sequel. The director had written a sequel for it because, spoiler alert, the end kind of lends itself that there's a sequel coming or could come. But because the studio felt that it didn't do that well at the box office, they took a pass. And then, of course, 8 years later, they did a remake called My Bloody Valentine 3D a couple years ago. I'm not sure how well it did. Basic plot is very the same. There's minors, But the killer was switched. They did a little bait and switch. They said, okay, have you seen the first one and now you're seeing this one? We're going to mix it up on you. So there you go. One of the hardest parts of doing this movie was the fact they had to film. A great portion of the movie takes place in the actual mines. So they had to put all the lighting and do all the stuff like 800 feet below the surface of the earth. And in this mine, like in the movie, there's an explosion due to methane gas. There was also a danger of methane in these mines. So they had to be very careful about lighting and their sparks and smoking and flaming torches, things like that. You just couldn't do it, if you know what I mean. So that's that's My Bloody Valentine. The killer, the guy who played the killer, actually still has the miner's helmet and the mask today. I guess he grabbed it on the last day. I don't know. Hope they didn't have to shoot any additional shots with the helmet because it was nowhere to be found. So there you have it. The movie currently has a 33% rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. So what are you going to do? I enjoyed it. It is your pretty typical formulaic 80s slasher movie. If you're into that sort of thing, then feel free. Like I said, I guess the original cut was super gruesome. This one, not as much. I mean, there's definitely, you see some blood and things like that, but it's not, I've seen worse. I'm not saying have a big dinner and then watch it, but it's not that bad. It gets the job done. I had actually never seen this movie prior to watching it this first time, so if I can do it, maybe you can do it too. So there you have it, My Bloody Valentine. Now, next week, I'm kind of going a little bit more recently, but not too recent. We're going to be doing the 1996 comedy, crime, drama, I don't know what it is exactly, Fargo, from the Coen brothers, one of their best, starring William H. Macy, Frances McDormand, Steve Buscemi. It's an all-star cast. So check that out. It is streaming instantly on Netflix. You can go ahead and go to our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. Give us the big thumbs up. You can also go to our page on YouTube and subscribe. It's totally free. You can follow me on Twitter at The B Movie Club. So check that out. Give me a big follow. And don't forget to spread the word, won't you? As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote. And here it is. From the heart comes a warning filled with bloody good cheer. Remember what happened as the 14th draws near. Bum, bum, bum. So there you have it. One other thing that I found kind of interesting. Valentine's Day in this movie is the 14th, obviously, right? And it was Saturday, Valentine's Day, February 14th, which means Friday, the day before, was Friday the 13th. Bum, bum, bum. Coincidence? Maybe it is. I don't know. So there you have it. That is My Bloody Valentine. Still streaming instantly on Netflix. Next week, Fargo. Thank you for joining us, and be well.